For the second time in the college football playoff era, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Clemson Tigers are in the Final Four. Ohio State won the inaugural college football national championship, and Clemson finished runner-up with last year's entertaining loss to Alabama. These two teams will meet in the second semifinal, the Playstation Fiesta Bowl, at the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Ohio State is an early favorite of 3 points, but this is a number that could move around a lot before kickoff time. There was some discussion as to whether or not the Buckeyes belong in the college football playoff, but there was never any question that they were going to be in with the win over Michigan. It wasn't pretty, but Ohio State scored another win over that team up north to finish an 11-1 regular season with a 6-6 against the spread record. The Buckeyes started 4-0 against the spread and covered only 2 games the rest of the season, while laying double-digit numbers up until the Michigan game, which closed at 3.5. There are definitely concerns about JT Barrett and the Ohio State offense heading into this game. Barrett completed 61.9% of his passes with a 24-5 touchdown-interception ratio during the regular season. But a lot of those completions were safe throws to Curtis Samuel, who caught 65 passes. There is not much of a downfield threat with this Ohio State offense because the wide receivers don't create much separation. Barrett, between design runs and scrambles, ran 194 times for 847 yards. They'll have to try to establish the pass to open up the run, but it is a very productive running game. Mike Weber was the workhorse back with 177 carries for 1,072 yards. Curtis Samuel averaged 7.7 yards per carry on his 91 tries. It felt like the Buckeyes were holding Samuel back a bit just for a game like this because his touches were limited in several games. The ace in the hole for Ohio State might be the athletic tight end Marcus Powell, who seems to make a big play in every single game. The Buckeyes racked up 42.7 points per game and 6.1 yards per play. They ran for 5.5 yards per carry. People think of Ohio State as an offensive team, but the defense is the reason that the Buckeyes got a lot of preseason hype, and it is the reason they're in this position. The defense held opponents to just 14.2 points per game and 4.3 yards per play. It didn't matter that Ohio State lost Joey Bosa, Darren Lee, Josh Perry, Ellie Apple, Tyvis Powell, and several others to the NFL. Garyon Conley, Marshawn Lattimore, and projected first-round pick Malik Hooker were all outstanding. Raekwon McMillan has a real nose for the football. Sam Hubbard and Nick Bosa make life very tough on opposing quarterbacks. Opposing quarterbacks only completed 47.3% of their passes, and many of the completions they did have were checkdowns as the Buckeyes held teams to 5.4 yards per pass attempt. The Clemson Tigers went 12-1 straight up, including a win over Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game. The Tigers were 6-7 against the spread and only covered 2 of their last 7 games. On the Clemson side, Deshaun Watson was viewed as a consensus top 5 draft pick for a while last season, but his NFL prospects have declined pretty dramatically this season. It seems unfair because his passing numbers are on par with last season's production. Watson and the Clemson offense managed 6.3 yards per play, which is more than Ohio State's 6.1 and 332 passing yards per game. Watson completed 67.6% of his throws with a 37-15 touchdown interception ratio. Having star wide receiver Mike Williams back was a big help. He's a matchup nightmare with 84 catches for 1,171 yards and 10 touchdowns. Wayne Gallman battled a concussion problem during the season, but he wound up going over 1,000 yards for the regular season. The Clemson offense took a hit when Chad Morris left for SMU a couple years ago, but this is still a very strong group. Like Ohio State, Clemson has had huge defensive losses over the last couple of seasons. Players like Vic Beasley, Stephen Anthony, Jaron Kearse, Kevin Dodd, Mackenzie Alexander, and Shaq Lawson have all moved on to the next level in their careers. Brent Venables is one of the best in the business, and there are not many defensive coordinators better equipped to go up against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Clemson's defense was not as dominant as Ohio State's, but the Tigers held the opposition to 18.4 points per game and just 4.6 yards per play. Opposing teams only managed 3.5 yards per carry. Clemson had no issues with Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl last season and outgained Alabama in the College Football National Championship game. It's time to give Dabo Swinney the credit he deserves as a recruiter and as a head coach. This should be a game that lives up to the hype. The opening number of 3.5 seemed a tad high, with Ohio State favored above the key number of 3. The sharper money hit the market on Clemson, but Ohio State and head coach Urban Meyer are 10-2 in bowl games in his career. If we have to choose a side, we'll take the Clemson Tigers at +3. For our pick and prediction on this game and every other game this week, and a wealth of free stats and information, check out bangthebook.com.